After a thrilling start to the season at California's Sonoma Raceway last month, GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS, has traveled southeast to the Lone Star State of Texas and the iconic Circuit of the Americas. Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Marine. Calvin Fish is alongside. Amanda Busick is down on the pit lane for us today. With overcast skies overhead, temperatures haven't climbed up yet, but there is plenty of humidity in the air and the chance, perhaps, of some scattered thunderstorms loom as well. That could be a storyline throughout the course of the day, but for now the track is dry, and we're about ready to go qualifying. A couple of sessions, Calvin, that will set the grid for the pair of races here at COTA this weekend.
Yeah, we certainly had a very exciting start to the season at Sonoma. Some excellent racing, and I think teams now getting into their stride. Some of the teams rocked up there, didn't have a lot of test time behind them during the off-season, but got a weekend under their belt now. They've been out here testing at Circuit of the Americas. It's such a challenging circuit, 20 turns, just under 3.5 miles. Similar elevation change to Sonoma, but a very different look and different attack mode for this circuit.
Takes elements of some of the most famous tracks around the world and combines them into this 20-turn, 3.4-mile layout that was designed in conjunction with Herman Tilke by Tavo Helmond, and also 1993 motorcycle world champion and Texan Kevin Schwann, certainly a legend in these parts. And you might recall Kevin wore number 34 for much of his career. He once told me it's 3.4 miles around this place for a reason. Nice little homage.
Yeah, well, maybe if you had number 78, it would be a much longer track, right?
Yeah, maybe so. That was perhaps fortuitous, but nevertheless, the layout has been praised by drivers from Formula One all the way down to the club level over the years. It's a real challenge, and not just for drivers, but engineers as well, because this packs a lot of different elements into one track.
Yeah, you've got some very long straightaways that run up here, what we're looking at into turn 1, but certainly down that backstretch between turn 11 and turn 12. It's just over 0.6 of a mile there, so you'd think lower downforce would work, but the S's and some of these other corners really demand the high downforce setup as well. So it's a compromise, and what you may have what's good for one lap in quali may burn you a little bit over the course of a race distance.
Let's talk storylines coming out of Sonoma. We saw a pair of thrilling races, maybe some of the best GT races I've seen at Sonoma in my time, and some familiar faces, but also some newcomers as well that look like they're going to make an impact here this year.
Yeah, very much so. There was some great performances. I think young Alex Sedgwick was great in the RS1 car. He had great track position there, lost the lead late in the go into Kenton Cook in the second race there. So they're looking to rebound and claim that top step of the podium here this weekend. But there's so much competition in particularly the Pro-Am class with 12 cars there. That is a real fierce battle.
It is an incredibly strong Pro-Am field. We'll be talking about it a lot throughout the course of the day today. Well, we mentioned Amanda Busick is patrolling the pits for us. Let's check in with her now. Good morning, Amanda.
Good morning, gentlemen, and engines just fired down here as we kick off qualifying for round 3 and round 4 of our season here in GT World Challenge America. And you talk about some of those new faces. While Todd Coleman and Aaron Tielitz have been part of this paddock before this season, racing in GT3 with us. 8 different manufacturers racing here at COTA. But you talk about just coming off of Sonoma and what a dynamic weekend. I do want to make a reminder with this season, especially in qualifying, teams will go out on cold tires. The tire warmers are obsolete for this season, so take a look at that as we get things kicked off this morning.
It's a really good point, Amanda, and that was a huge part of the strategy component that we saw play out, not just in the race at Sonoma, but also in the qualifying sessions.
Yeah, very much so. Regulator Racing basically qualified Philip Ellis first and then kept those same tires on, so there's a little bit of heat in that tire, and that really paid dividends for Jeff Burton. It was a curtailed qualifying session there, and he got the hammer down early with some heat in those Pirellis, so that's a strategy that may take place here again today.
It was a particularly cold morning in qualifying there at Sonoma, a little less so here, right. So maybe some of that advantage dissipates, but nevertheless, you'll see these cars tiptoeing out of the pits over the course of the weekend with those tire warmers now banned in the regulations. And look, I think it spiced things up. Certainly the outlaps during the race were really fascinating. And again, we saw regulator racing roll the dice in one of the races where they tried double stinting tires. It didn't end up working at Sonoma, but it does give these teams a few more tools to play with strategically.
Yeah, it does. But before, when you had the tire warmers, typically the undercut would work well. You'd get the, sort of like tires that have got, 40, 50 minutes on, then get them off and get some fresh rubber on there and let the second driver go out and lay down some blistering laps. But that second driver's now got to deal with cold temperatures, so that may not play a factor this year. Maybe more the overcut that will work.
2 15-minute qualifying sessions. Session 1 sets the grid for race 1 later on today. Session 2 will set the grid for race 2 tomorrow. Let's give you the roll call of who's on track. Jason Bell and his Aston Martin for Racer's Edge. Anthony Lazzaro in the Ford Mustang from Dollarhide Racing. Elias Sabo, Blake McDonald, Alam Kodair, Alex Sedgwick, Gray Newell, Jason Daskalos, Justin Rothberg, Kyle Washington, Mackay Stevens. We hope to see that car on track, and indeed it is. More on that story in a moment. Ross Schwest, Bill Oberlin, Todd Coleman, Philip Ellis, JF LeBurge, Kenton Cook, and Oz Negri, the 18 drivers on track here for the first qualifying session. Did mention, though, that there was a story there with Mackay Stevens, the JMF Motorsports team that had such a strong debut at the GT3 level. They won on debut in race 1 in class at Sonoma. However, they had some mechanical woes yesterday that meant that team had a long night making some repairs.
They did. They had a pickup point that essentially pull out of the chassis on the right front corner, so they had to go to work last night, and I believe they got a hardship lap this morning, so hopefully they'll be in great shape. They had a great debut run at Sonoma, of course.
There is Jeff Burton waiting his turn as patiently as possible. Regulator Racing doing in 2025 what they did in 2024, flipping the strategy for most of the Pro-Am field, which tend to start and qualify their AM in the Pro-Am lineup for race number 1, with the Pro taking race 2. Regulator Racing doing the opposite, and it's netted them several wins over the last few years and a really strong run in the championship last year as well for Jeff Burton. Easily his best season of GT3 racing in his career.
Yeah, I think he's really settled down over the last couple of seasons. He's got a great partner in Philip Ellis, who is really just one of the top GT stars on the global stage, let alone here in North America. And Regulator Racing, they've got great crew. Stefan Pfeiffer's kind of the team manager on that side of things there over at kind of a camp that shares the DXDT engineering force as well. And but they had a win at Sonoma. They're very much in the thick of the points. They sit third right now behind Robbie Foley and Justin Rothberg, who had a win and another podium, as we see Rothberg now getting up to speed there in the Ladder Creek BMW for Turner Motorsports.
We also saw Ellis still sitting in the pit lane. He actually did do an outlap and came right back in, so they're going to wait, roll the dice a little bit, because if this session were to be interrupted by an incident, that could catch them out. But they're going to try and save those Pirellis for one late push to go for pole, which is crucial for their strategy in race 1. They need Ellis out in front in clean air to build a gap for Jeff Burton in the second half of the race.
Absolutely, and this is another team that are employing that same strategy. We saw briefly there the 51 car from Random Vandals. Bill Oberlin is doing the opening chore here in qualifying this morning.
This car did it as well at Sonoma, but it is Alam Kodair qualifying for race 1 today, so they're electing to go back on the more conventional approach. Tell you what, AF Corsa and this Pro-Am car were really impressive, I thought, at Sonoma, and they're going to sneak up on a couple of people before this season is done.
Yeah, well, they have a little bit of history of Ferrari.
Yeah.
They know what make these cars tick, that is for sure. So great to see them here full-time this year. They also run an AM entry for Oz Negri and Jay Schreibman, of course.
Yeah, the team certainly won't sneak up on anyone, but I'm not sure that there was a lot of familiarity with Marcelo Hahn and Alam Kodair, but Kodair in particular was right on the pace at Sonoma, and he's doing it again with the best opening sector of the session so far. Still fairly early days. Really, drivers are just now starting their push laps. It's a long way around here at Circuit of the Americas in contrast to what we saw at Sonoma. So it does take a little while to get around it. What that means is in a short 15-minute session, you don't get that many chances at it, only a couple of bites at the apple.
Yeah, it's but he is on it, and we got to be careful of until those tires get fully up to pressure, and you're really eating up a lot of the curbs around here. Track limits is always a force of the conversation here at Circuit of the Americas, but Kodair there is really wrestling that Ferrari as he's trying to get this car up to speed. And you got it right. There's not many laps you're going to put together here in this short 15-minute session.
2003 Formula Renault Brazil champion Alain Kodair did quite a bit of single-seater racing before switching to 10 tops and has had a great deal of success in Brazilian stock cars. Race winner there, championship contender there over the years. But he's been linked up with Marcelo Hahn, coaching him, bringing him along over the past several seasons. This is a really experienced and very quick driver, but still new to the North American venues. However, he's proven to be a quick study, and he is flying right now, pushing here on this first push lap, and we'll see what he can do. Just one more corner to go here on this 20-turn layout.
Yeah, he's absolutely exploring every inch of road that's available to you without getting dinged by the stewards here. They're very much on top of the track limits. You've got to be touching the red and white curbing apex, and you must have some part of a tire touching that white line, the extreme portion on the exit of the corners as well.
Kodair to the top, a 2:04.1. The fast time yesterday came in practice 1. Tom Sargent for GMG set at 2:03.4, so that would indicate still a little bit of time to be found, assuming conditions are up for it. But pretty strong opening gambit there from Kodair as we'll watch the veteran Anthony Lazzaro in that beautiful Ford Mustang, which is making its season and series debut here in 2025. Great to have Ford, great to have Mustang on the grid. Ferrari 1-2, Kodair ahead of Negri, then it's Lazzaro. So score 3 for the 50 and up crew with that group. Gray Newell breaks up the party, though. The youngster goes third fastest for Art of Racing, and they've been pretty quick. Both Gray and Darren Turner have been on the pace so far this weekend.
Yeah, they really have. We're focusing here on the number 18 car. That's the RS1 Porsche young Brit. Alex Sedgwick behind the wheel, sharing the car with the veteran Jan Halen. You see that white line there as you come off of turn 20. You've got to have a part of the tire touching that. If you're over in the gray, over in the black there, you'll lose that lap and the next lap. You're starting your next lap flyer there. So turn 20, you've got to really mind your business through there and not get dinged.
Gave Kodair a couple of extra years, so I retract that 50 and up comment. He's only in his 40s, but nevertheless, fastest thus far by 7 thousandths of a second over Alex Sedgwick. Then it's Mackay Stevens. Let's quickly get a report from Amanda.
Yeah, I just snuck by JMF just to talk to the team about how Mackay Stevens feels that Mercedes is handling this morning, and Mackay is reporting back that it's better than it was yesterday ahead of what happened to that catastrophic event. As you guys said, the team was here all night. I told that they walked out of the Circuit of Americas at 1 a.m. this morning, so you can see it a little bit of tired in their eyes, but worth it, guys.
Yeah, definitely, and great work because that car's quick, third fastest so far.
Yeah, Oberlin's on a good lap here. He's put together fastest overall first sector, personal best sector. In sector 2 there as now Rothberger's up on the wheel as well.
A lot of talk around the paddock about the pace of the BMWs. We're yet to see them flex their muscles until now as Bill Oberlin goes to the top. Kenton Cook only 0.05 of a second behind, so that is a statement from the Random Vandals squad, putting a couple of cars there at the top of the order ahead of Kodair, Sedgwick, and Stevens. Then it's Rothberg in the 6th spot for Turner.
Yeah, Bill Oberlin is just so excited about this new program that he's put together in the off-season with Paul Sparta and the Random Vandals group. There was talk of them potentially running with derogation on Varun Choksi to run in Pro-Am. They elected to go the pro route, and there was going to be a tall order, but they've had really good pace at Sonoma. They had some issues with the clutch that really precluded them from putting a qualifying time together, so they came from the back of the pack both days there, but really were knocking on the door of getting right up to the leaders in race 2. So Oberlin fractionally quicker than his much younger teammate Bill Oberlin, 56 years of age right now, and is still showing the young boys that he's still got some speed.
Nobody doubts it. Bill still has the motivation, he still has the pace, and now he has the provisional pole by 5 1/100ths of a second. But as I say that, Mackay Stevens swipes it away by just 22 thousandths. Extremely tight. The top three separated by less than 1/10 of a second here in qualifying one.
Watching Elias Sabo, he was out here earlier this morning qualifying in GT America, so he'll be into a rhythm early. Did a test here, which was really productive. They're feeling good coming into this race weekend with the Flying Lizard Motorsport Group.
That was his best lap of the session. Jumps up to 8th overall, 4th in the Pro-Am class. Here's Philip Ellis. Let's keep an eye on this. He was the qualifying master last year. Pole just about every time he went out to qualify. Of course, doing the alternate strategy puts him in a position to do that within his Pro-Am class, but really quick, as you can see through the first two sectors, here he comes to the line, and Philip Ellis goes to the top of the heap, and by a wide margin, 7/10, clear of Mackay Stevens. Kenton Cook, though, closes in a little bit. He jumps to the Pro Class pole, but still a half a second behind what Philip Ellis just turned in.
Yeah, so Bill Oberlin needs to get up on the wheel there. He's in the wheel tracks of his teammate, who's now a couple of tenths quicker, and he's split from his teammate by Mackay Stevens now, who's 3rd overall and 2nd in the Pro Class.
This is one of the 2 Am Class entries. Dollarhide Racing, they ran as a Pro-Am entry at Sonoma, but have switched back to the Am Class starting here at Circuit of the Americas, and the anticipation is that they will continue as such for the rest of the season. Right now, 2nd of the 2 Am Class cars. Oz Negri, 8th overall. Not a surprise with a veteran like Oz behind the wheel of a well-prepared, of course, a Ferrari, to be right there in the top half of this field overall.
Look at those cars, 2nd through 5th, the top 4 in the Pro Class, of course, only separated by about 3/10 of a second, so it's a really tight field there in the Pro Class this year. But Ellis, what a rocket ship of a lap that was.
Oh, fantastic stuff. 2:03 flat. That is 4/10 better than anything we saw in practice yesterday, 5/10 better than what anyone else has been able to put on the board in the opening 12.5 minutes of qualifying one. Oz Negri's been dropped down to 9th overall, still provisionally on the M Class pole, and it looks likely that he will hold on to that with Lazaro in the pits, but still continuing to push and setting personal best sector times in both sectors 1 and 2. Here comes Negri, car he shares with Jay Schreibman, out of turn 20 to the timing stripe, and it is a new personal best lap for Negri, but he does not improve in terms of position, still 9th, so right in the very middle of the 18-car field.
So Sedgwick has bailed a little bit early here. Save some life in these tires as Paul Sparta and Connor DiFilippi look on at the progress of Kenton Cook, who currently has the pro pole, but only by 18 thousandths of a second.
Stevens still pushing.
He is. Personal best in Sector 1.
10th behind Philip Ellis's Sector 1 time, and this is like for like in terms of Mercedes equipment. But remember, JMF, it's their first year racing at the GT3 level. Regulator Racing, which is, let's call it a cousin of DXDT Racing. They have been campaigning Mercedes for half a decade now, so really impressive what JMF has done in a short amount of time, acclimating to this much more technically advanced GT3 machine. But Mackay Stevens out of the throttle, and looks like he will back away from the pole run.
Yeah, the promising first sector, he must have had a little mistake or just felt that the tires were past their threshold of peak performance, so he didn't have a great middle sector, and he's bailed on it right now. Let's see if he's thinking of just cooling things down, if he can get back to the stripe before the clock runs out.
Yeah, should have time for one more push lap. Just needs to get those Pirelli P0s cooled just a bit. The car that just went blitzing by, Alam Kodair, on a really good lap. They spent some time in the pits, maybe making some adjustments, and we'll see what Kodair can do. He should be tripping the timing beacon in just a moment. Meanwhile, Jason Daskalos out on track, putting together a nice run here in qualifying. Kodair 6th and 2nd in Pro-Am, but first on their strategy, so that's right where they want to be. See what Daskalos can do, paired this year with Isaac Sherman, his first year racing at the GT3 level, and this pairing, I thought, had a really good showing at Sonoma, all things considered.
They really did. It was really a promising opening GT3 weekend for Isaac Sherman. I spoke to Daskalos yesterday, and Jason said, boy, that young man is so impressive. We get a few more races under our belt, we can really make some things happen here. They had an issue with the brake rotor shattering in one of the early practices with that, and had them a little bit concerned, but saw them yesterday later, and they felt they were on top of that situation with Nick Short leading the charge there with that group to get the car ready to go here this morning for qualifying.
Shaping up to be the best lap of the session for Jason Dascalos, if he can keep it together, and he does. Jumps up a couple of positions to 9th. Stevens, though, still on a push lap here with the checkered flag flying. Only a handful of cars still on track. This is another car that's still pushing, and Kodair putting together another strong lap. 4/10 off of Philip Ellis' ultimate pace, but this could see an improvement that would interject this Ferrari right into the middle of that Pro Class battle at the start of the race today.
It really could. See what Mackay Stevens, he's gone personal best Sector 2 as well.
Yeah. Only 61 thousandths of a second off of Ellis. This is effectively for the overall pole. Perhaps more importantly for Stevens, it's got him on pace perhaps to take the Pro Class pole away from Kenton Cook. Doesn't need much. He's only 18 thousandths of a second behind him as it stands, and this would be more than enough if he could just keep it together here. So the question becomes, is it for class pole? Is it for overall pole? We'll find out in a few moments. Here comes Kodair to the line. He takes the checkered flag. Another personal best lap. Does not improve his position, and Mackay Stevens goes P2 overall, but does take the Rover pole position in the Pro Class. Fantastic effort for a team that missed all of practice 2 yesterday.
Yeah, it really is. Great reward for the crew. Amanda said they were up to 1 a.m. in the morning getting that car ready to go, so an excellent effort by the whole group, and particularly by Mackay Stevens. Just pushed, got that lap together. He tried it a lap earlier, missed the Sector 2. Communicated obviously with the team in terms of how much time was left, and put in that last lap flyer to grab that pole position away from the random vandals machine of Kenton Cook.
Well, that was a frantic 15 minutes.
It was.
It was good fun.
Really an indicator of what we're going to see this afternoon and tomorrow.
Well, and buckle up, because now we're about to see the pros in almost all the Pro-Am lineups up against some really stout driver 2s in the Pro lineups as well. Fuel burned off a little bit more. We got a chance to see some fantastic lap times in the second qualifying session, which is set to get underway here in just a matter of moments. Philip Ellis once again takes the pole for race number 1. Mackay Stevens will start alongside on the front row. A couple of Mercedes AMGs. All the talk about BMW, but it's the old warhorse, that Mercedes-AMG GT3 Evo, that takes the top stop.
Yeah, both poles for Pro and Pro-Am.
Quite right, as you can see. Then it's a pair of BMWs from the Random Vandals stable. They'll share row number 2. Alex Sedgwick, continuing to impress in his first season of GT3 racing, will start in the 5th spot. Along Kodair for AF Corsa, really strong effort. First on their strategy amongst the Pro-Am runners. Will roll off in 6th. Then Blake McDonald, DXDT Racing. Quiet session, didn't see much of him, but that was a nice lap time. Blake's been quick in GT America as well. Justin Rothberg in 8th. Dascalos, Snegri, the rest of the top 10. Sabo, Washington, Newell, Schwest, Lazaro, Bell, Coleman, and LeBurge making his season debut after they had to withdraw from the Sonoma weekend. More on that in a moment. Now, down to the pits and Amanda.
And it's back-to-back Rovo pole position awards for Philip Ellis to start his season here in GT World Challenge America. And he just told us that it's the best track that he's seen this weekend at the Circuit of the Americas. What's the secret to making a complete lap here?
To be honest, a bit of luck. It's changing so much here throughout the week. So this morning when we came out and watched the GT America qualifying, we decided to change a couple of things on the car again, and it was perfect for that one lap. But that's all it is. It's one lap, and after that you don't have it anymore. So going into the race, of course, we have to do some changes again and hope that we keep all the BMWs behind us.
Thank you, Philip. What is it, guys? Luck favors the prepared mind. I think Mr. Ellis was able to pull out that lap himself.
Yeah, and I think what's cool if they have elected to, Amanda, if you can just check in, see if the team did elect to keep that same set of tires on for Jeff Burton with a little bit of temperature this morning. He didn't put a lot of laps on them either, so there's obviously a deficit there versus putting on some fresh rubber and some sticker tires. But if you got temperature and the tires do not have a lot of laps on them, that may be the perfect scenario for Jeff Burton here today.
Yeah, we saw them use that to great effect at Sonoma, with Jeff Burton starting on the front row overall for race number 2 in the season opening weekend. Quick correction, by the way, back to that previous session at AF Corsa. Ferrari, Kodair, and Hahn, they actually are on that same strategy as Burton, but doing a nice job putting that car in position to go for a good result. Here we go, clock already ticking down in session number 2. BMW's rolling out of the pits at the front of this field. Connor DeFilippi, Varun Choksi in these Random Vandals BMWs. This team, which made its GT3 debut middle of the season last year with a single car, has grown exponentially. These 2 cars here in GT World Challenge America, plus 3 cars racing in the 3-hour Pirelli GT4 America Endurance race coming up later on this evening.
Yeah, massive effort by Paul Sparta and the whole group there at Random Vandals. I mean, kind of cut and paste scenarios, what we saw in that first quali session with the 51 car following the 99 around here to start this qualifying run. But yeah, just they've geared up. They've got some great personnel there, some excellent engineers, and they are firing on all 4 cylinders. They really feel like they need to tidy up some of their pit stop stuff, and they can really be a force for the championship, I think.
No reason not to be. Team and driver lineup certainly capable. Look at great mix of machinery we have on hand this weekend. As Amanda mentioned, 8 manufacturers between the 18 cars on the grid. We've got that great Detroit rivalry represented as well. We talked about the Mustang, and of course DXDT back with their Corvette, returning to the site where their Pro Class car debuted a year ago and proceeded to rattle off 8 straight wins and very nearly win a championship.
Yeah, super impressive what they did last year, and they've got some excellent setups to work with. So look for Matt Bell to be knocking on the door of one of those top spots here in this 15-minute session.
Did get confirmation from Amanda that Jeff Burton is rolling out on the same tires that Philip Ellis used in qualifying 1.
I think that's huge. It's just really smart strategy. It gives Jeff that little bit more confidence when he's going out, even though we've got pretty high ambient and track temperatures here in Texas compared to California a few weeks ago. But nonetheless, it just gives an AM driver a little bit more of a safety net here in these opening laps, certainly as they start to get up to speed.
Pace starting to pick up. This is the first timed lap of the session, but everyone's still getting into their rhythm.
Yeah, and you see Jeff Burton there, he's already ready to roll because he does have that tire temperature. As Varun Choksi tries to generate some temperature into his Pirellis aboard the BMW in front of him. So I think Jeff's had to back off a little bit. They probably say you need to gap those BMWs a little bit more if you're going to lay down a flyer here. I would say this next time across the stripe might be the go lap for these 2 boys in green and white.
What do you think we might see in terms of lap time if Philip was able to get down in the low 203s? That was with more fuel in the tank. They have to carry enough fuel in qualifying 1 to go through qualifying 2. Could we see a 202?
Well, to see that, you've got to have one of these pros basically be half a second quicker. So it's going to take Connor DeFilippi to be half a second quicker than Kenton Cook to dip into the 202 range. So we'll have to wait and see.
Mentioned that this is the first weekend effectively for this LAB Motorsports team. JF LeBurge qualified this car for race 1. Kyle Marcelli aboard for race 2. A very uncharacteristic mistake in qualifying for Kyle at Sonoma led to heavy wall contact, and ultimately it cost them the opportunity to compete in the first 2 races of the season.
Yeah, I had a good chat with Kyle here yesterday about that moment. He said, you know, I was looking at the tire pressures, everything looked to be good. He said, you know, we had fresh tires, so the exit speed off the last corner and up to the hill into that moment that he had was about 5K higher, but he said it really just caught me unawares. Before I knew it, I was sideways, no time to recover, and they were out for the weekend. So great to see them back. Kyle was really fast here in practice yesterday morning in similar conditions, so let's see what he can replicate here when it's time to make it happen.
Outstanding driver, brings a ton of experience, former champion in SRO America as well several years ago. All Canadian outfit, team and drivers looking to represent the Maple Leaf flag here in the Lone Star State of Texas. Scott Dolehite, quickest at the moment, but still waiting on some representative lap times. Dolehite at a 2:06.9, so a far cry from what we're expecting here in this second qualifying session. Does look like Connor DeFilippi's on a push lap, though, already up nearly 3/4 of a second through Sector 1 alone.
Yeah, he was cutting the grass there through Turn 8, and certainly the Sirs will be on top. You start to kick dust up. They don't like to see that for cars that are following you through, try to lay down a fast lap. But he's definitely looking edgy here, looking for some speed to get that first lap fly around the books.
So much experience racing in North America, a lot of time spent in Europe as well for Connor DeFilippi, and he told me he's adapting to what is a bit more of a relaxed environment here in GT World Challenge America, certainly than what he was used to in Europe, which he was telling me just how cutthroat it could be from time to time, but enjoying this new challenge, learning a new paddock, and learning this team as well. Did do some driving with Random Vandals last year, of course, but now plugged in for the full season, and this figures to be a car and a team primed to go for a championship in 2025.
Yeah, on paper, they look so strong, right? And the team's delivering them great platform to work with as well. So, but it's going to be a tough season. And we saw all 4 cars in that Pro Class so closely matched at Sonoma. We've seen similar things in practice so far here this weekend as well, and certainly in that first quali run this morning.
This will be our first glimpse at what might be possible here in Q2. Connor DeFilippi's first push lap is complete, and he goes to P1 at a 2:03.5 right away. So that pretty much matches what his co-driver Kenton Cook did in qualifying 1, and he'll try and build from there as Varun Choksi comes through. Temporarily had the second fastest time. Isaac Sherman at a 2:04.6 is now P2. As we watch Michael Cooper here for Flying Lizard Motorsports. Not Flying Lizard, excuse me. Put one in the swear jar. That was the old team.
I did the same thing at Sonoma.
Racer's Edge, and we'd like to send a happy pseudo-retirement message to longtime team owner John Meraki, who is stepping back from some of the day-to-day operations there at Racer's Edge.
Yeah, congratulations, John. What a career you put together. So many championships at this level. So time to take a step back, but I think the team is still going to operate at the top level, and they've got a great driver pairing here with Michael Cooper, 4-time SRO champion. And he's got a great teammate in Jason Bell here this year with this Aston Martin.
Got a good lap brewing, and indeed, it's fast enough to go to P1 at a 2:03.1. That is outstanding. Pretty much matching what Philip Ellis did just a few moments ago.
Well, I would have to say that's a bit of a surprise. We know Michael's talents, but I've not really seen anything like that as he drifts it through turn 1.
First 2:02 of the day. Mikhail Grenier for JMF goes to the top. He does break that 2:03 barrier, a 2:02.9 in his Mercedes. Matt Bell not far behind, just a fraction over 2:03. He takes DXDT to P2, and the provisional Pro-Am class pole just ahead of Michael Cooper. Here's Isaac Sherman, CRP Racing. He's on a push. Tom Sargent just lowered the benchmark even further, a 2:02.2. Wow.
Incredible. Absolutely monster lap there by Tom Sargent. Just announced this week as one of the new Porsche Select drivers, so that is really making a statement here in quali.
Connor DeFilippi was on a great lap, but he caught Jay Schreibman, and that scuppered his chances to improve. He was
Big
on a
time.
lap that would have put him quite possibly on the front row as it stands. We watch Scott Dolehite here, who knows this track like the back of his hand. He's based here in the Austin area, and as you found out, has thousands and thousands of testing laps around this place.
He really does. We went out on the circuit a couple of nights ago, and he gave me some insight to this circuit. It was raining at the time. He said, this is where the grip is, this is where it isn't. So he knows this racetrack like the back of his hand. He lives about 40 minutes from the circuit itself, and his race shop is just 5 minutes down the road from there as well.
New name at the top of timing and scoring, Justin Rothberg. That should be Robbie Foley, excuse me, who has gone to P1. And how close do you like it? 0.008 of a second. That's what separates P1 and P2 with 5 minutes and change to go here in the session.
Well, this track is ramping up, rubber is going down, and it's really responding in the lap times. So yes, you mentioned that the car is lighter. You don't refuel between the two quali sessions, so that's obviously speed, but I didn't anticipate seeing numbers down in the low twos. There's a 1 on the potentially here today.
Absolutely, and this could be the car to do it. Michael Grenier took it easy for the first 2 sectors, but he was pushing in Sector 3, which would indicate that this is the lap that he's been building towards. So we'll keep an eye on that number 34, erstwhile provisional pole sitter, still fastest in the pro class, but has dropped down to 4th. Kyle Marcelli also starting to pick up the pace here in Sector 3 to begin a push lap now with 4.5 minutes to play with.
Yeah, but I think all of these drivers out there would not be expecting to say fast time now is at 2:02.2. I don't think anyone expected that to pop up on the timing sheets this morning.
Varun Choksi dropped all the way down to 18th. He lost his best time for a track limits violation in turn 19. Went a little bit wide in the estimation of the stewards and pays the price. Now he turned in a representative lap and does jump to 11th. Let's keep an eye here on Matt Bell. Personal best through Sector 1. He's the 3rd fastest car in the session so far.
Yeah, he's got a really good lap he's putting together here.
Although he's out of the throttle now, seemingly.
Yeah, he's bailed on this. He's still got some time to play with here, so see if he can cool those tires down a little bit. Have a bit of a reset, find some clean air, and go again.
How about Andy Lee in the car that actually is the Flying Lizard Motorsports car? Right now, down in 5th overall, 4th in class, personal best through Sector 1.
Yeah, Lee's been really quick here this weekend. Sabo, his teammate, has been fast as well. So this is a team that is really now getting their head around this BMW, making the switch mid-season last year from the Aston Martin. See, kind of the black that's in the brake zone there is like a ripple effect. Even though the circuit's had a lot of resurfacing, it still maintains kind of that bumpiness online, the chattering as the tires brake and release into that brake zone for turn 12.
Always hear the F1 guys talking about that when they come here. The MotoGP riders as well, maybe even more so.
This is a great corner, this triple apex. They call it the carousel. It just keeps winding up. You kind of hit the elevation change right there, and it's really controlling the speed as Andy Lee is backed out of it. So if he's doing a reset, if he feels he can't get any more speed out of that BMW.
Grenier couldn't extract any more out of his Mercedes. Although now he's pushing again, just did a personal best Sector 1.
So Andy resets here. Just focuses on a good clean exit of 20 to start your lap. Just to reiterate, if you run out of bounds through turn 20, that will negate that lap and the following lap, because it could give you an advantage up the hill to turn 1.
That's right. Crucial one to get right for that reason. Especially with how long it takes to get around this place. 2-minute laps, and as we discussed at the top of the show, just 15 minutes these qualifying sessions. So you only get a couple of shots at it. Grenier pushing for all he's worth, but still a far cry from the times of Foley and Sargent down in the 2:02.2s. No one else.
He just laid down the fastest middle sector here. What can he pull out of the hat here? I think he's on for certainly jumping over Matt Bell, who sits P3 overall. Grenier has the pro pole right now. Connor DeFilippi, he had an absolute flyer going, as you mentioned, Ryan, and he lost that opportunity with some traffic, and he hasn't been able to respond so far.
No, and he's in the pits currently as well. He'll do seemingly no better than 8th overall. Still good enough for 2nd in the pro class. But here comes Grenier, the Canadian. Little bit of traffic. Good work there by Jan Heylen to get out of the way. Heylen in RS1 down in 9th. Here comes Grenier. Doesn't need to find much to jump Matt Bell for 3rd overall.
He rolled some speed there, had a little twitch coming off, and yes, he does jump up to P3 overall, and most importantly, gaps another car between he and Connor DeFilippi and Jan Heylen, who are going to be battling in class position here this actually tomorrow afternoon.
Exactly. And buffer can be so crucial, as we've seen over the years. Matt Bell will have time for one more push, as will Kyle Marcelli. Kyle actually on a nice lap just a moment ago picked up a couple spots ahead of Darren Turner and Varun Choksi into the top 10 overall and 7th in this highly competitive Pro-Am field.
First sector by Robbie Foley, who holds the top spot. I know the graphic is showing his teammate, but it's Robbie Foley, the BMW factory driver who put that lap down, was just incredible. 25.8 through that first sector, really set up that lap beautifully.
Checker flag waves. Those on flying laps will be allowed to complete them. There's Jay Schreibman, currently propping up the order down in 18th. Ferrari Challenge veteran who ran a partial schedule last year. His team car lets him play through. That's his teammate Marcelo Hahn down in 17th. And Darren Turner, frankly, a little surprised not to see this car further up the order. They were quick in at least one of the practice sessions. And talking with team principal Ian James, they felt like they were right there in the window. But it doesn't take much. This field is remarkably tight, especially when you're factoring in just the Pro-Am cars.
Yeah, he was in a first battle. He got beat up a little bit at Sonoma on his first visit, or first race visit at least, to that circuit. He does know this circuit well, have raced here in the World Endurance Championship a few times, so familiar turf, but even so, a little bit deeper in the pack than we expected from the legend Darren Turner, 3-time Le Mans winner.
And happy to see Ian James here in the paddock, doing just fine after a monster crash at Imola last weekend in the World Endurance Championship. He's a busy guy, not just as the team principal, of course, with a sprawling and growing empire there at the heart of racing, but also still doing some driving from time to time. Right now, though, he'll have to go to work in team manager mode, trying to get a bit more pace out of their Aston for Darren Turner and Gray Newell. But it's Robbie Foley who takes the top spot here in the Turner BMW by just 0.08 of a second over Tom Sargent, who was the first to really open our eyes to what was possible with a 2:02.2 and thought surely that was going to be enough, but as it turned out, not quite. Really strong front row with a couple of Pro-Am cars there. Then it's Grenier, Pro Class pole sitter. He'll share row 2 with Matt Bell. Andy Lee and Michael Cooper will roll off 5th and 6th. There it is, your Rova Pole Award winner, Robbie Foley. Randa Vandals flew the BMW flag in qualifying 1, but it's Turner that has the bragging rights for race 2.
Yeah, you know, Connor certainly had a good lap going. Whether he could have got close to Robbie's time, he'll know that from the data. They can put together a predictive lap and know how much they lost there. But even so, I think they just timed it, synced the tire pressure, temperature and everything right at the right moment, got a clean lap, and Robbie made it happen. Awesome stuff.
Certainly did. Fantastic lap. Just enough to take that pole from Tom Sargent, whose star continues to rise. You mentioned his selection as a Porsche Motorsport North America selected driver, one of 3 that were named earlier this week. All 3 will be racing in SRO America this year, which is a cool story to tell.
It really is. Great to see this young talent being recognized by one of the top manufacturers with such a racing pedigree.
Here we go. Results for qualifying 2 with Foley over Sargent by just 0.08. Then it's Grenier and Bell on the second row. Lee and Cooper will share row number 3. Tielitz quietly put in a strong run there for Archangel Motorsports and their McLaren, ahead of Connor DeFilippi, who has more pace than that time would indicate. Just caught traffic at a very inopportune time on a lap that would have challenged for a front row starting spot. And veteran Jan Halen, Kyle Marcelli, a couple of Porsches there in the 9th and 10th positions. Turner, Choksi, and 11th and 12th. Then Sherman, Poboledo, Burton, Dolehite, Hahn, and Schreibman, 17th and 18th. Shaping up to be a fun weekend. Races here at COTA at the GT3 level always seem to be pretty exciting, and with the mix of strategies, the potential for some unexpected weather to roll in, and of course just the strength of the field, I think we're in for a fun 3 hours split between the two 90-minute races.
I don't think we're going to have many quiet races this year. Looking at this field and how competitive it is, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, certainly. If Sonoma was any indication, we're in for a treat. This is how they'll line up for race 2 tomorrow afternoon. Sun's starting to poke out from behind the clouds. That's going to change the track conditions ahead of the race. Teams will have to stay on top of that. Pretty ideal conditions, all things considered, this morning for some of the fast times that we saw.
It really was, but I was surprised how the track ramped up in terms of grip level to produce those lap times. We talked about the fact you don't refuel, so the second driver is a slightly lighter race car, but Robbie Foley here, he absolutely hammered that lap. That was awesome.
Yeah, he'll be proud of that one, that's for sure. Of course, the reigning champion in the Pro-Am class, along with Justin Rothberg.
Let's not forget he's carrying Justin Rothberg because of the delegated bronze situation. He's actually had some weight added, 13 kilos, and Robbie has to carry that around as well, so that makes that lap even more impressive.
Yeah, really good point, actually. And then Scott Dolehite gave us the thumbs up a moment ago. He's got the AM class pole locked down. Only 2 cars, but could be fun to watch those two duel throughout the course of the season. Down to Amanda with pole sitter for race 2.
Yeah, and Robbie Foley came out of his BMW with a fist pump as he'll put on the hat to celebrate the Rova Pole Position Award here for race number 2. And Robbie, we were talking about the weight. You said that it doesn't help, but it didn't seem to hurt you here today.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a bigger guy myself, so I'm always a little heavier than some people. But, yeah, it's just a testament to the work that all the Turner guys and girls have done. We've gotten up to speed with this Evo M4 GT3 this weekend, and improved on what we had last year, which was already a really good car. So really happy with that. Justin's been doing a good job getting up to speed, so looking forward to a good race later today.
All right, well, stay here for just a second. I have an award that's going to go in your hand, presented by the representative from Rova Motor Oil, as Robbie has that award, guys.
Yep, congratulations to him. Fantastic job. 0.08 of a second. That was the margin in qualifying. Now, that single lap pace, what do we expect over the course of 90 minutes? That's going to be a totally different challenge. And trying to keep the car under you for this long race, that should be a real challenge. Oliver Cornish there with the thumbs up, representing Rova, sharing that moment, sharing the photo with Robbie Foley. Big smile on Robbie's face. That was a fantastic pole lap.
Yeah, it really was. It's fun to be out there when the car's perfect. Track conditions give you that amount of grip, and you still got to make it happen, as many of these drivers did here this morning.
Pole sitters for race 2 in their respective classes, or is this for race? Now, I think this is for race 2. Yes, with Mikhail Grenier there in the pro class. He'll start not on the overall pole, of course, but still very much in the mix. Foley and Rothberg, the overall pole sitters, and they take the Pro-Am pole. And Anthony Lazaro and Scott Dolehite, Am class pole sitters for race number 2. Well, it was a fast and furious qualifying session, both of them, in fact. Session 1 and 2. Plenty of fireworks, but everyone kept it on the black stuff. That's great to see, and I think only one instance of a lap being taken away due to track limits, so everyone pretty locked in this morning.
They really were. I mean, you're certainly on top of that. You try and find that outer edge, but in qualifying, you're looking for that little bit more time, and it can burn you. I think Choxy was the only one who had a lap deleted.
Busy day of racing coming this Saturday here at Circuit of the Americas. GT World Challenge Race 1 comes your way just before 1 o'clock local time. 18 cars set to take the start in a grid that is super tight, super compressed. Competition just ramping up year to year, 2024 into 2025. Great mix of cars, drivers from all kinds of experience levels and backgrounds, all coming together, shaping up to be a fantastic season. Qualifying set the tone for what's to come still this weekend. We hope you join us. Race number 1 coming up this afternoon here in Texas.